Are you the one getting played, manipulated? Are you the one chasing the emotionally unavailable man? Girl, stop and listen to this episode. Welcome back to Through the Looking Glass podcast. My name is Lavanya. My goal is to empower listeners, even in the smallest way possible, and improve your well-being. If you found my podcast and enjoying it, please take a minute to follow and rate the show. It really would make a huge difference for a brand new show, and it lets me know I'm doing a good job. So, today's episode format is a little bit different than my usual solo episodes. This is a list of dating rules I resonate with. Ultimately, if you don't agree with it, do what you want. I know I have high expectations and standards when it comes to dating. Everyone is looking for different things in different life phases, so I totally respect that. If you pay attention to social media trends, Black Cat versus Golden Retriever is a big one with dating right now. There's so many theories like that over time, like taxi cab, cool or nice girl syndrome. But the core of it all is about being a high value person, knowing what you want, and being confident. If you want a long term commitment, this is what I think you need to understand and practice. The first dating rule is stop with the situationships. I don't know what's going on with this generation, but it's wild to me that people are always in situationships these days. And some even go on for like years. What? Ew. I'm shook. I've never been in a situationship and never will be. I feel like the math of it all backs into communicating your expectations and being upfront. There seems to be this fear of losing someone, maybe, or playing the cool girl persona by going with the flow. The truth is, when you give someone an easy and hard choice, most people will pick the easy option. In this case, that's not setting relationship expectations. The reality is, if he doesn't want you to be his girlfriend in 2 months, he's not going to want that in 2 years. Ultimately, you have to be accountable for your own choices. And if you genuinely have a goal of being in a committed relationship, you have to communicate your expectations early on. If he leaves, let him. It's better to know this information before you get emotionally invested and waste months or worse, years of your life. Unless you're dating to just date, which is completely fine if that's what both parties want. However, this video is for the girlies who want to be in a committed relationship. Disclaimer, I do think it's reasonable to date and get to know each other before making it official. Definitely don't rush into things and don't expect a label right off the bat either. However, the exclusivity and relationship status should be confirmed in a couple of months, maximum 3, and that's pushing it in my opinion. My point here is please stop putting up with things like situationships when it's not serving you. Rule number 2 is let him take the lead. I know this sounds simple, but we've all been there with getting carried away when you have a crush. Women are generally so giving and caring when it comes to dating. You need to make sure you're giving your energy to the right person. This is all about being in your receiving energy. You need to take a step back and observe, especially in the early stage of dating. Is he fun or are you the fun one? And he's just there. Be honest. This can play out with making plans. Let him ask you out and schedule the plans. Just be present and open. He's probably trying to impress you anyways. I know some people will think that this is primitive, but men do need to chase. It's in their nature. It's how they thrive. They want to work for it. And when you take away their masculine energy by doing everything, it's kind of emasculating, right? You should be comfortable to let go a little and trust him. It may be hard to do in the beginning because you don't know them yet, but you can't get to that safe feeling if you don't even give it some space and time to evolve. I want to give a couple of examples of letting him lead. This can be in conversations too. Are you the one who's doing majority of the talking? Are you driving the questions and leading the conversation? You can learn a lot by listening to him and seeing him drive the conversation. Another thing is paying for dates. Let him invest in you. It might be controversial, but I think guys should pay for dates, at least in the first month. Be graceful and say thank you. I think a lot of women see this type of thing as anti-feminist, which I think is completely missing the point. Letting a man do nice things for you, pursue you, doesn't mean that you are incapable or lose your independence. Everyone has masculine and feminine energy. I personally think in hetero dating, women won't be happy if they can't be in their feminine energy on the long run. It's the core of black cat versus golden retriever theory. The man has to chase the woman. It's about balancing feminine and masculine energy. You can be an alpha woman in life, be a businesswoman, a leader, do whatever you want, but that has nothing to do with being in a relationship. Letting the man help you and create space for you doesn't make you weak. Strong partnerships are about accepting love and care. Learning to shift into your feminine energy, even if you're an alpha woman, will allow you to attract high value masculine partners. The next rule is setting strong boundaries. When it comes to dating, men love sassy, passionate girls. There's a great book on relationships with the title Why Men Love Bitches by Sherry Argoff. I think it's a little outdated, but the core ideas still ring true and highly recommend reading it, especially if you have an anxious attachment style. One of the core principles in the book is stop being the nice girl and don't let men treat you like the doormat. It's really about showing you deserve to be respected and accepting nothing less. You need to learn how to set strong boundaries for that. I wish I knew why men's brains do this thing, but they push the envelope to see if they can get away with doing a little bit less. So don't be afraid to tell him what you expect and what you won't tolerate. They actually like it when a woman stands up for themselves. They respect you even more. I want to teach you how to draw these lines, and the key is do it in the sweetest way possible. That means don't start yelling or act angry. That's hard to deal with for anyone, right? Let's bring in Raj and Priya. They just started dating, and the conversation is great. They have a date planned. On Friday night at 11 p.m., Raj texts, "Hey Priya, do you want to come over right now to watch a movie?" Priya texts back the next morning, "Morning, Raj. I don't like last minute plans, and I was busy. I am looking forward to getting to know you on our date." Note how she told him off gently and waited till the morning to respond. You should not be texting a new guy after 9 p.m. period. You have to set physical boundaries too. I know that's hard to do, but take the time to connect emotionally and intellectually first. That's laying the groundwork for a long-term relationship. You have to take it slow. Don't let a guy be spontaneous. You have to set the ground rules that you expect to be courted. Note how Priya said she was busy. I don't care if you're home watching TV or out with friends. You are busy. And there's nothing wrong with letting him know that. Don't drop everything the moment he texts you to hang out. If his response boils down to, "I can't respect these boundaries," then you say, "Thank you, next." If he's a keeper, he would respond, "I'm so sorry, please let me take you out." You want to be someone's girlfriend, wife? You won't get there by being the nice girl. That starts with setting boundaries with the level of time and effort you expect from the early stages of dating. The next dating rule is to be independent. We've all been there when you're in the honeymoon phase and it's amazing to be in love. But it's also so easy to lose yourself in the relationship. Don't lose sight of who you are as a person. You have your own talents, needs, and life to live. Relationships should be about two individual people pursuing their careers, passions, whatever, and you come together to share your lives. Don't give up your interests, friends, and career to sustain a relationship. That's only going to drain you over time and create resentment. It puts you in a vulnerable position if things don't work out. This looks like keeping your plans, making time for friends, especially in the early stages of dating. Don't expect to spend every weekend together or see each other multiple times a week. I would suggest keeping it to once a week in the beginning to maintain some balance. Gradually increase the time you spend together. And this puts you in a high value position too. Your time is valuable, and they should earn your trust and respect before you give them more of yourself. When you get into a long term relationship, your schedules do sync up, but keep your friends close too. This is one of many ways women are different from men. Women need other women. You need your social circle to feel fulfilled. Men don't necessarily need this. As amazing as your partner can be, it's only one part of your life. Don't skip girls' night or work happy hours to be with your man. All relationships need energy to grow and evolve, right? It includes your female friends too. If you don't put time and effort into these friendships, you will lose them over time. So don't devalue socializing. Being independent also looks like focusing on your career and goals. Don't make the guy or the relationship the center of your life. Don't make career decisions based off of your relationship. Someone who truly supports your aspirations will find ways to support you in your pursuits. I totally get not everyone wants a high profile career, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I want to impress is doing things just for yourself. This can even look like hobbies that you spend time on. It's so important to take space for yourself. Also, this creates space for your partner to go do things they love and give them a chance to miss you. If you're always available, it lowers your value, and that's when you get taken for granted. Men simply respect you more when you have your own interests, job, and friends outside of the relationship. So go to your brunch, girls trip, and work conferences. Basically, go live your life, and when you're back with your partner, it makes your time together even better. The next rule might be controversial. Stop making his life easier. This can look like you initiating dates or calls often, always driving to his neighborhood, cooking his meals, organizing his life, or helping him excel in his career or business. I think women do these things wanting to show their value and what they bring to the table, or they think of it as being straightforward and not playing games. I know it's counterintuitive, but it's the worst thing you can do. As a woman, you should never give too much of yourself. It translates to being desperate and needy in the eyes of men. This is when you're shifting into your masculine energy, aka the golden retriever. We talked about how men want to be the chasers. So when you turn into a full-time assistant, you stop being the prize. If you hand him everything, including yourself, on a silver platter, he has to do zero work to earn it. Think of it this way. Anything that's free is automatically devalued and seen as defective. Don't we all question why something is free and what's wrong with it? It's basic human nature. The same thing applies in relationships. If you take up all the space to provide everything, hence make his life easier, he has no incentive to step into the masculine role. If you want to be treated like a princess, you need to stop pursuing him. That's his job. You are basically firing him from his role in the relationship. Think about how shitty that must feel. That's when men break up with you by giving stupid reasons like, I don't feel any chemistry anymore. At any given stage of the relationship, you should match the energy that you receive. If anything, let the guy give you a little bit more than you offer. Stop giving him the husband treatment when he's not. Beyonce said it best. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. It all ties into Black Cat's energy, being independent, passionate, and unbothered. Dating rule number 6 is don't nag him. This is a super common mistake and easy to make. You're not his mom or his phone reminder. It's not your job to raise him or manage his life. Truthfully, it shows a lack of maturity from the guy if he doesn't have his life together in some capacity. If you're wanting marriage with someone at this stage in their life, I would seriously rethink it. Anyhow, the idea of nagging is pretty interesting to me. I think people, usually women, nag when they feel like they're being taken for granted and not having their needs met. But you love this person already, so you sort of left to be asking for things, but you actually want them to just do it on their own. I think often people react defensively to nagging too. No one likes being criticized and told what to do, especially men tend to dig their heels in further. The first counteractive measure can be taking a step back, being unbothered, and kind of switching to this friend mode rather than reacting to something that's bothering you. Negative attention is still attention, and it shows him the status quo hasn't changed. Say you come home to a dirty room. You need to start acting indifferent instead of asking him to clean up. Better yet, just leave with a vague reason and go spend time with a friend or something. He'll probably freak out and realize he needs to do something before you come back home. It's honestly so dumb, but don't waste your energy. Being unbothered is the best way to keep him on his toes. Show him he needs to take action to keep you interested. I can see how this can be confusing because shouldn't you communicate your needs? Fair question. I think the key here is how you communicate. We all know how nagging looks like, and that's not how you should communicate your needs. Instead, try positively reinforcing his actions. Say something like, "Remember that day when you dropped food off for me? That made me feel so special. I loved it." The nagging equivalent of communicating this would be saying, "You never think of me during work anymore." I think you can see the difference between the two. It's true when people say you have to train a man. Dating rule number 7 is to learn to control your emotions. This is a key trait of a high value person. So far, I hit on being unbothered, setting strong boundaries, and staying true to your passions. Another key trait of a high value person, or the black cat, is keeping your emotions in check. I know this is really hard for a lot of people. It's natural to be reactive when you are emotional. Your feelings are hurt, and you just want to scream and be heard. While that is valid, it's not effective. Never say anything in the heat of the moment. Learn how to gather yourself up, think through what you need to say, and then come back to the conversation when you're feeling calm. Everything always feels worse when you're upset, and it's easy for your partner to dismiss you. I find it best to leave when you're hitting your emotional ceiling. It's okay to pull back and take time for yourself before you start communicating. You can 100% tap out of fights and say, "Let's come back to this conversation tomorrow." It gives both sides time to cool off, and that's the key to conflict resolution anyways. When you do come back, don't over communicate your process or feelings. That's for you to know. This means don't send him paragraphs in text message the length of a novel. Boil it down to how you would like to be treated. Call out your partner if they're being less than a gentleman. If he doesn't make the necessary changes, then you leave. It's as simple as that. Don't stay with someone who isn't giving you what you need, thinking they will change if you ask them one more time or give them a little bit more time. Anyone who has been there can tell you that doesn't work. Besides, when your partner knows you won't put up with any BS, they respect you and won't risk giving you less because they don't want to lose you. Women have more options than men in 2024. So just remember that if things are not working out, you hold more cards than you realize. And that's why I'm making this video to empower women. The next dating rule is super important in my opinion. Always be financially secure and independent. You should always have a financial agreement when you move in with a partner. No one should be relying on another person to meet their basic financial needs, especially women. You never know what will happen in your relationship after marriage, so don't give up your ability to stay independent. As a South Asian woman, this was something that was drilled into me by the women in my family. Most of them were stay-at-home moms, and while that division of labor worked out for them, there's still underlying insecurity without that financial independence. I see the whole trend of trad wife taking off right now. I find this dangerous to push this onto young women. I think people have forgotten the reality of the traditional 1950s housewife. Women worked so hard to earn equity by entering the workforce, and it's still a work in progress. But I think people lost sight of the negatives of not making your own money. And that's why the idea of a trad wife is glamorized now. I just want to caution women to be smarter. There's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom. I was raised by one. Just make sure you have a financial plan in place and equity in your relationship. For example, my mom owns most of our property, and get a prenup, especially if you're going to have children. The following dating rules are kind of like the advanced bonus material, in my opinion. Thank you so much if you made it this far into my episode. And I really think the first 8 are like the core of being a high value dater. So, dating rule number 9 is work on challenging each other. That mental or intellectual stimulation is really important to keep that spark alive. I think everyone can get complacent, right? There's something about keeping the mystery alive that's beneficial in the long term relationships. It's fun to keep learning about your partner. Maybe even start a new hobby together that can bring out a different side of you. I think being mysterious becomes possible when you don't overshare and trauma dump in the early dating stage. It might be a classic anxious attachment style move. So if you have an insecure attachment style that requires inner work, my previous solo episode is on attachment theory, which is definitely useful to understand if you need to work into shifting into a secure style. The last dating rule I have today is keep your relationship private. I think it's extra important in the early stages. I know it's really fun to do coupley things and integrate them into your friend groups, but I think there's some downfalls with that. I personally think get to know them in private and work on a strong foundation. Sometimes taking in too many external opinions is not healthy and can be detrimental to your own decision-making process. As women, we've all been in girl groups, and of course, we talk about men, which can be so fun. But the group energy kind of always seems to lean towards hating on pointless things and making red flags out of nothing. If you really need a second opinion on something, I think talk to a trusted friend one on one or ask your therapist. It can be a benign thing, but if you are someone who's anxious, talking about your new partner too much can add to your overthinking. I just think it simplifies the dating process. Let the other person show you who they are and don't judge too harshly. They are a whole other person who's had their own unique life experiences that shaped them. So get to know them one on one. The time will come to meet friends, and that phase will be fun too. So that rounds up to 10 dating rules of a high value woman. I just want to add a note that it's completely okay if you don't already do these things. No one is an expert, including me. I'm almost 30, and a lot of my tips come from learned experiences. I make these episodes to help my listeners grow, so don't be hard on yourself. You can apply these rules or tips moving forward, or don't use them. I don't have a boyfriend, so what do I know? Take what resonates, and you can decide for yourself what doesn't. I would love to hear from listeners what tips you would recommend. You can share them with me directly or put them in the comments. Wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for listening or watching.